Good evening. The time is 6:03, and we're going to call the April 22nd, 2025 Oak Park Board of Education special meeting to order. Ms. Greer, please call the roll.
Clark.
Here.
Copeland.
Present.
Elvin.
Here.
Madison.
Here.
Scott. Perryman Shanks.
Here.
Okay. Tyler.
Here.
We're good? Okay. The agenda was circulated prior to today's meeting. It's not long on paper, but it is a comprehensive discussion on a few topics. I don't know how y'all read in summer school on me, but it is what it is. In any case, the agenda is here before you, and it was provided prior to today's meeting. Are there any concerns relative to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, without objection, we'll pass a motion to approve the agenda by unanimous consent. Any objection to doing so? Okay, the agenda is hereby approved. We will now go to public participation. We come to the part of the meeting where the public has the opportunity to address the board if it so desires. Public participation is one-way communication in which members of the public are asked to address the full board with the understanding that board members will not be able to respond. Trustee Perryman Taines, would you please provide the public comment guide?
Because the board, because the Oak Park Board of Education values public meetings, not just meetings in public, we welcome public comments on school issues. Speakers are asked to express themselves in a civil manner with due process for the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by public comments. The public comment portion of the meeting cannot be used to make personal attacks against a school board member or school district employee that disrupts the order of the meeting and are totally unrelated to the manner in which the member or employee performs his or her duties. Speakers should be aware that if statements violate the rights of others under the law of defamation or invasion of privacy, such as comments may result in legal liability. Most comments can be concisely stated in 3 minutes, and the board respectfully asks that comments remain focused on the topic or issue and not directed at specific personnel or board member.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the board? Do we have any cards? No cards. Any members of the public who would like to address the board? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to item 4, presentations. We have 3 of those, and one of those, the first one of those, deals with school finance. We've talked about some of this ad nauseum at length, and we've asked for, there are members of the board that have asked for study sessions and things of that nature. I can't think of anything other than, academic performance of our students that's just as important. Luckily we have Mr. Nelson, CPA, Jesse R. Nelson, CPA from Baker Tilly, and we have our own Dr. Sharice Foster here to present. Foster. Right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Here to present, and so with that, I will be quiet, get out the way, and let them have the floor.
Thank you, Board President. Members of the board, good evening. Superintendent Abdulahad, community members, and cabinet and district employees. Yes, we have Mr. Nelson here that will provide us with a very comprehensive, detailed, thorough presentation as it pertains to the overview of our voted bonds. I kindly ask that if you have any questions, we provided some index cards, that if you can write down your questions for all the presentations that will be before you this evening, and we as cabinet members and presenters will provide responses in our weekly board updates this Friday. So if you could just let us know which question, which presentation, the question and presentation it pertains to, we'll absolutely provide you with a thorough response. And without further ado, we'll have Mr. Nelson.
Great.
Well, again, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate the board's time tonight. Very excited to talk about this topic. Tonight we'll be talking about an overview of the voted bonds. We'll really start high level. What is a school district in Michigan voted bond issue? We'll get into state programs, we'll get into options, how do you look at construction, the bond issuance, all those different components we'll walk through in tonight's presentation. And then certainly, as Cherie said, if there's questions, follow-ups, certainly I'll get those back to you. And then we'll also look at some specific information that works for our Oak Park school districts as well. With that, why don't we go ahead and jump in. Skip some slides here. So our first slide that we're going to look at is actually in the lower right-hand corner, page number 4 of the presentation. If you have a paper copy in front of you. And what page number 4 does is it gives us kind of a big picture overview. You know, we've got 5 to 10 minutes. We're working together. What is a voted bond issue for a Michigan school district? So on the left-hand side, what a school district is really asking its community is a question. And the question that's being asked is, do you, the community, allow us, the school district, to go out and issue a maximum dollar bond amount to do capital improvements, buy equipment, purchases for our school district and our community? So if you had the sample ballot language, you would see up at the top 10 million, 15, 20, 30 million dollars, whatever that bond amount is the not to exceed figure that the community member is voting on when they go to the voter booth, because there's a referendum, it is a voted bond issue. So they're approving that item. Then underneath it, there's a paragraph showing what the bond proceeds can be used for. You'll see words such as athletics, technology purchases, security improvements, refurbishments, all of the types of items that these bond proceeds could possibly be used for the different improvements of the school district.
Question for you.
Sure.
Although I've been through this before, but just want to make sure we lay it out. Define issue bond.
So what happens is after the voters approve the bond issue, we work with the administration, we put a bond official statement together saying, hey, we're Oak Park Schools, we're going to sell $20 million worth of bonds. And then we actually have a sale date when investors give us bids for interest rates of what they're going to buy those bonds at. And then they will give the school district the $20 million that hits a restricted cash account where you do the sidewalks, the roofs. And then we have an agreement to repay that bond issue over the 25-year period. So that's the bond issue part after the voters approve.
So they give you money up front that you have to return over time
Exactly. It's just,
with interest.
exactly. Yep. No, you nailed it. It's just like a debt instrument, but in this case, because it's a Michigan school district bond, it has to fit into that window.
Got you? Yep.
Yep, no, great question. And so that, the ballot before the voter is saying, okay, what's the maximum amount of bonds that we can issue? And then what can we use the money for? For example, if we don't put in the ballot language bus purchases, and let's say we come in under budget for construction, it would be nice to go buy a new bus. Well, we didn't put bus purchases, the community didn't approve that allowable purchase for it, and you can't do it. So when putting the ballot language together, when putting your project together, you're working with your attorneys who draft those language for you, and you want to make sure, yep, that's the dollar amount we want, and these are the possible things that we can do at our school district when we receive those funds. All right?
May I add something, Tessie?
Certainly.
That's a very important component because as you recall, when we just went through all those ESSER dollars, there was a lot of back and forth of what we use ESSER for versus the bonds. And these type of meetings and conversations are very important in terms of getting engagement from the board members, the community stakeholders, and things of that nature. Because when I came on board, there was a lot of bumping heads of, we want the bonds to cover this, but it wasn't approved for that versus ESSER. Or other funding sources. So in finance and what operations department is, we have to stay lockstep in terms of all these different projects and how they're funded to make sure that we're utilizing and maximizing the grant funding, the sinking fund bonds and everything, that everything is like in sync.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. I mean, as you're seeing as a board, the state receives funding in many different buckets. And, you know, Sharice, just like working with you, is trying to figure, we want to do this, what is the appropriate bucket? What's the legal part of that? And the voter bonds, that ballot language will set those parameters when they approve in the election. So to the right of that, if the community approves of the vote, meaning there are more yes votes than no votes, then you as the school district are required to levy a dedicated bond property tax millage rate each year to make the bond repayment. We we just talked about, we're going to issue a debt instrument or a bond issue. So the investors will give us the 10, 15, $20 million, and then we're gonna repay that over 10, 15 years. You know, very similar to your monthly mortgage payment, although we have annual payments that are gonna have to pay over the year. Where we're going to get the money from that is from, once the voters approve that bond issue, we are allowed to levy a specific property tax rate on the community, which will collect the money to make the bond payments. So the community member is approving the not-to-exceed bond amount and then what you can be used for it. And then you, the school district, must levy a bond millage rate each year that's necessary to make that bond payment. I work with Sharice each year to recalculate that millage rate. We get the new property tax values, and that millage rate can go up or down depending on what the bond payment is due that year and where our property values went to. So it's a little bit what the question is and what will happen. So if we did a bond election here, we would certainly tell the community members, if you approve the bond, the estimated effect on your property taxes is X or it's 0 or whatever that is. And then if the community members approve that, you must levy a property tax rate to make the bond payment. So the general fund, a lot of the other funds that you're using to operate the school district will not repay this bond issue because the community has approved this project. They have approved a dedicated property tax rate to repay. All right. Go ahead, Don.
The question that I have is basically what you were talking about the rates, the maximum bond millage rate. So in regards to the community, you know, with the levy, that would be based off of the percentage of the amount that we're asking for, or does that come after? Meaning, so it comes after. So if we're asking the community for either to vote yes or no, will they know the amount that they're asking, that they're gonna levy, so they can vote? Because, you know, we're gonna point out
No, I think it's a
what
great
this money is going toward, so how much, will they know how much that money is?
Yes, we will be able to give them an estimate. So you have a great example. Hey, Oak Park community, please approve our $20 million bond. And if you approve it, we estimate that our bond millage rate will not change and will remain 5.98. Or, hey, we have a larger project and we estimate if you approve that we're gonna have to raise the millage rate another $0.5 mil. To your point, because we have a new bond payment, right? We have our property values, and then what is the calculation of the rate to calculate that? So we certainly disclose that to the community. We'll talk about a little bit later that you set up, you're allowed to have a bond website where you can give factual information. And a lot of the times it starts out with, hey, we're gonna do playgrounds, we're gonna do X and Y, and then click here to see what the estimated change in your millage rate would be. Yeah, because I think as you're seeing, which makes perfect sense, is, you know, I'm a community member, okay, well, what are you gonna do with the money? And then what is that gonna do to my property tax bill? And we've gotta provide all that information so they can make a sound decision on it. So towards the middle, what's called the multiple bond series option. And so what this is saying is if you get in one election, a certain amount of not to exceed bonds approved, you don't have to go out and immediately issue all the bonds at once. So just an example, let's say the community approves $30 million worth of bonds. We may not go out and do one bond issue for $30 million. We may do $10 million in year 1, $10 million in year 3, $10 million in year 5, and you can issue the bonds over a period of time. Financially, that's advantageous to us in that we're not paying interest expense on my example, $30 million at once. We also may do that because of construction timing. You know, let's say we're gonna replace the middle school roof and we really can't do that for 3 years down the road. Well, we don't wanna be paying on bonds or receiving money for a project that we can't even do. So there's even a long-term strategy about looking at your long-term capital facilities and then matching up when the money's coming in is when you're actually going to construct those projects. And so that is a very typical process we're seeing for many school districts. Here at Oak Park, we use that same strategy. Our last voted bond proposal had multiple bond series where you matched up the money coming in with the projects you're trying to complete. And we just completed the last series recently this year with that bond sale.
What's the strategic benefit for doing it in a series?
One is financially, in that we don't pay interest on all of the bonds immediately. So in my example, I said, if we get a $30 million bond passed and we went out and issued $30 million, well, we'd be paying interest expense on $30 million. If we split that into 10, 10, and 10, we have years to only pay interest on 10 million, and we can repay those bonds before a new bond comes on. And then strategically, if there's projects that we know we're gonna have to do down the road, so again, I'm just gonna say middle school roof is good, but it's gonna need to be replaced in 4 years. We can have the money coming in when the actual construction project needs to be done.
You stated you made the example about the 30 million, then carrying it out year by year by year. Up to how many years can we carry that out?
So once the voter approves the not to exceed dollar amount, it is eternal. So then it becomes, once the voter approves it, it becomes to you and the administration about how you want to actually deploy that. So for example, going back to your point, we will disclose to the community, the plan is, and just using the 10, 10, and 10, and the first 10 we're gonna do parking lots, roofs. But in the example where interest rates are really low and we can get a good deal, we can sell bonds soon. The other side of it, let's say unfortunately economic conditions don't go well, and we don't want to take on more bonds at this time to maintain the millage rate, well then we can delay those bond sales, we can push them back. As long as we don't go outside what the voter has approved, which is the maximum dollar amount, what we can do with the money, we have the ability to make those changes if it's advantageous for your project.
Thank you.
All right, so then to the right, allowable uses of bond proceeds. In this case, it all has to be capital related. So capital meaning projects which are going to extend the useful life. So think of, we talked about roofs, gymnasium floors. Oh gosh, we are allowed to buy buses. We are allowed to buy Chromebooks or classroom technology with it. But what we can't pay salaries and wages for it. We can't do maintenance with it. And the attorneys always get into a debate is, hey, we're going to paint the wall. Well, that's maintenance, and we can't use it for these capital bonds. But we're going to renovate the entire wall and the wing to it. Well, then we can do it with bond proceeds. So there's this fine line between maintenance and capital. The key being that it has to be used for capital improvements and is not focused on running the general operations of the school district. You have other funds for that. So then, kind of just the inverse, we talked about the allowable and non-allowable. Then obviously we just talked about general fund or operating related expenditures are not allowed. That's the far right box on slide 4. Okay, keep going now. So just to reiterate, we had some good questions on what is a bond millage rate or how do we repay these bonds. So just a real simple illustration, and again, these are made up numbers, this is not our school district here, is every year working with Sharish, we get a new taxable value figure. So the property values, you, me, everyone, we get reassessed every year and they say our values are X. And then we have a millage rate, in this example 7.5, that's going to generate $5.1 million of tax collections. We have a bond payment of $4.8 million. So we're going to bring in 5.1, we're going to pay 4.8, and then that would be an increase in our debt retirement funds of $271,000. So again, this bond millage rate does not interact with the general fund. It's dedicated its own cash account, and it strictly receives money to make bond payments, and then you are allowed to keep a reserve, and we recalculate it every year. You'll be approving what's called Form L4029 probably at your June meeting. And that's where you will see your new bond millage rate and that recalculation and everything coming in to pay off our existing bonds. So this is what the concept of what's happening on an annual basis. All right. So we do have, obviously just like anything, we do have laws, we do have restrictions here in the state of Michigan regarding voted bond issues. Up at the top, we do have what's called a debt limit. Can't have bonds that are outstanding, voted bonds that are outstanding greater than 15% of state equalized value. Just to make things more confusing, taxable value is one figure, state equalized value is another figure for property values. The difference is state equalized value is half the market value. Your taxable value is what you're actually allowed to be taxed on. And those are two different numbers because restrictions on how much more in taxes you can pay per year to stay in your property. So there is a debt limit we have to track. We're not near that, or it's not a concern here at Oak Park. There is the exception you can see underneath that, is if we use a state program, which we're gonna talk about, the School Bond Qualification and Loan Program, then those are not subject to that debt limit, and you're allowed to go outside that debt limit if you needed it. But we do have some restrictions there. We count on it, but again, it's nothing that we're facing here at Oak Park right now. We also have a limit on the length that we can repay the debt, or the maximum period for the bonds. So we have a 30-year maximum length. We can be 30 years at the longest. We can have a shorter term, anything less than 30 years. And then the other part of that, as far as what your bond issue length is, you've got to be able to show that your assets you're going to construct are going to last as long as your bond amortization period. So what that's saying is we don't want to be paying on assets, so we're still repaying the debt. We still have a bond amortization schedule, but that sidewalk's not going to last that long, right? So we know the sidewalk's only going to last 10 years. We're not going to do a 20-year bond, meaning the sidewalk needs to be replaced, and we've got another 10 years to pay on it. So there's some useful life calculations that plan. Yeah, Rich.
Who sets the millage?
Who sets the millage rate every year? We, the school district. And that recalculation will be coming up. We'll be working with Sharice, and you'll see that on the L4029 in the June meeting normally when that comes out. So there are some voted bonds restrictions. Again, 30-year maximum length. We do have a limit on the amount of debt that we can have outstanding. So with that, I'm going to move to the next slide. So you as board members and as administrators, there's a lot of terms thrown around, and then one of those in the school district voted bond world are the terms qualified or non-qualified. So the state of Michigan has a state program which exists to help school districts get a lower cost of borrowing for when they do voted bond issues. And how that works is if you use this program called the School Bond Qualification and Loan Program, we would submit an application to the state, and we would say, hey, I'm gonna keep doing the $30 million examples. We're going to ask our voters to approve $30 million at each school building. These are the types of improvements that we're going to do. This goes in the application. This is the estimated repayment of the bonds and the millage rate, and you submit that application, and then once they approve your project and you go to actually issue the bonds, we talked about earlier going to get the money from the investors, the state will essentially back the bond issuer or be a co-signer on that bond issue. So what that means essentially is in the event we, Oak Park, could not make that bond payment, the state of Michigan would come in and loan money to make those bondholders whole. And when they do that, we get a higher credit score or a higher bond rating, which helps us get lower interest rates on the market. Here at Oak Park, we've historically used this program, and it's been pretty beneficial to us, and I think we should, if we do a voter bond issue, strongly use it again. But it's available to you to do that. And then some of the advantages and disadvantages, because you don't have to use that program, so that's an option. And then you can see in the middle, the advantages is, we get the stronger credit rating that helps us get a lower cost of borrowing. There's also a sub-program called the School Loan Revolving Fund, which I'll touch on a little bit, and it does give you the ability to access that program as well. The bonds are not subject to that 15% SEB debt limit. The disadvantages is they do have their rules. You're using their state program, right? So they're going to have to fill out the application. They do have some rules in the construction process. And also they want 90 days to review that application. So if we're going to be voting here, that means 90 days in advance of that, we got to have our project lined up. You got to have everything done, and that does shorten our time period as far as your decision-making process, because you've got to give them that 90 days to review that application. So then if we go non-qualified, we don't use that program, well then you don't need to fill out the application, but you also don't get the state's credit rating, and you don't get access to the school loan revolving fund. So there's some pros and cons there when making that decision.
So why go non-qualified at all? Is there a reason you may not qualify for that?
No, a lot of the districts, the vast majority in Michigan use this program and go for it. Sometimes I see it, very large districts just feel they have a high enough credit score and they don't want to do the application. They're not up against the debt limit and they like having that flexibility. But certainly in southeast Michigan, and most of the state, we use that program all the time. Because, we know what we're going to do. Myself and your construction team's going to fill out the application so it's not any burden more on you. And it's a nice program to have. So I would say probably 80-85% use that program. And if we were going to do a voter bond issue, we probably would again, unless some circumstances where we had a short time frame.
What's a substantial amount or percentage amount to ask for, since we set that, to help the community understand, when you say raise taxes, that's a really big thing. But if they understand that the calculation is not, like if you speak 30 million, that doesn't mean it's gonna be 3,000. It's a lower percentage. So I just want the community to understand that millage amount is not significant, added on to the property taxes.
No, and we always give that financial information, and we've got some good examples, because you're bringing up a good point. We do have an opportunity coming up here with the school district because of where our bonds are going. We had some good things go with the last program, where there is an opportunity to get some additional funding. We won't have to change our bond millage rate. We would just extend it over time. So in that case, to your point, and again, we'll see it in a few, because it's a great question, is in this, there would be community members, if you'll approve this project and the improvements, it's estimated we will not have to change our millage rate. It'll just be extended for a little bit period long, and we can disclose that information. All right, so that's just an overview of the state program on slide 7. I'm going to touch, just to make things more confusing, so there's the school bond qualification loan program. Then there's a sub-program under that program called the school loan revolving fund. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, the reason being that the minimum in the middle to participate in this program is 7 mils. And our bond millage rate is not near 7 mils. And we're talking exactly what you're saying about raising property taxes. So we probably won't use this program. But if we use the school bond qualification loan program, if the district ever needed it, we would still have access to it. But probably most likely not going to be using it here. All right, so slide 9 gives you an overview of the different entities that help school districts get from the idea to completed their voter bond project to the ballot and putting all those items together. Different groups that are responsible in helping you get information so you can put the program that you want together. So on the left-hand side, municipal advisor, that's where myself and my firm works on it. We're responsible for the financial and capital plan. So we get many calls of, hey, we're looking at this dollar amount. We're looking at these types of improvements. It's our job to calculate that bond millage rate, get you those estimates. What are those possible financial scenarios if you issue bonds like this? What does it look like? We have to get you all of that information so that you understand, if I choose A, B, or C, what does that mean to the property tax millage rate? What does that mean to our funding plan? So the accounting, the financial part of that process. And then when the bond proposal is successful at the bottom, it's our job to help you get to the capital markets, to do the bond official statement, have that bond sale, and complete all of those items. So in our last bond sale, we worked with Angel and Sharice. We had a bond rating conference call. We put an official statement together. Again, everything from getting that money in the bank so you can do those improvements from the financial accounting side. In the middle is the bond counsel. So this is your law firm that's working with you on the project. They're responsible for all the legal parameters. Can we do that type of project? Is that under state law? They're going to review the application, and then they are the ones responsible for preparing the ballot language that the community member will see when they go in to vote on this bond issue. So that paragraph that we talked about before, the not to exceed, everything you want to disclose on that, they take care of that. And And then at the bottom, they'll prepare your board authorizing resolutions, all the legal documents for closing. So that's the attorney who's working with you on the projects and everything that's associated with the legal side. Then your far right-hand side is your construction team. And these are the folks, they do facility and infrastructure studies. A lot of the times they walk around with you in the administration and they'll say, hey, let's go find out where the roof's at, where the boilers, you know, it's been nice to maybe have a STEM building here, we want to do an exception. They're supposed to give you the estimates of what those projects would cost. So, you know, so you're beginning to say, hey, these are the things we want to do at Oak Park. They give you those costs, they give you the timeline when those are improvements. There's many different scenarios, but it's their job to do the construction side of it, and then when construction starts, they'll be helping you build it, track it, everything from the construction going forward once you receive the funds. So these three entities, when evaluating a voted bond issue, it's their job to give you the different options, the pros and cons, everything from their angle so that you're able to make the decision how you want to proceed. All right, so we've got the financial accounting, we've got the legal, and then we've got your construction team, which will be covering all those different aspects. All right. I like the next slide, but I also look like it's kind of a board game that has all these different arrows all over the place, so it's a great chart to have, but we'll kind of talk from the big picture and work our way backwards, and you've done a great job with any questions that pop up. So first thing I'm going to do is actually go to the bottom. And planning for a voted bond issue ideally starts about 1.5 to 2 years prior to the election. The reason that's important is because it gives you a lot of time to get a lot of feedback from different people, stakeholders that would be involved in the voted bond process. What is the community? What kind of improvements would they like to see? Do they need a new auxiliary gym? Do they want a new loop at a pickup at a building? You know, you get your community feedback of what they feel they'd like to see for the facilities at the school district. You also get a chance to talk to staff and then you, the board, so there's a lot of input coming in to what would like to happen. At the same time, you're getting facility study feedback from the construction team. You know, you have a lot of buildings and physical plant. There's some things that we're going to have to do that, you know, it's not really optional, right? The middle school boiler is going to fail in 2 years. Well, we've got to have heating and cooling, right? So that makes that a must-have. We've got to know where those puttings together. So you're really building your list of everything that you want to do and then getting those cost estimates. So then at the same time, you're providing that information to us as municipal advisor, and it's our job to then say, well, if you do a $30 million project, here's what the millage rate's going to look like. What does this mean to the community? How are you going to sell those bonds? If you do an option B, what does that look like? So you're able to begin putting A, B, and C side by side and making decisions how you want to line that up and put that together. Because there can be some tough decisions. You know, if we're doing a 3-series bond and the last series is going to be 8 years out, well, who's going to go first? Right? We're going to have one election, but series 3 is until 8 years out. Well, middle school, we'd like to get that air conditioning first. Well, if you do that, we got to push this parking lot back, right? So you can imagine, you know, working with your staff and your team or your community, how many different scenarios, how do you find that balancing act of putting it together? So it's nice to be able to get that input, have that 1.5 to 2 years to put that together, put these financial scenarios so that you can do that. So then, you know, looking at step 6, we decide if we're qualified, non-qualified, we get the financial estimates. We move down to step 8. And then once using the school bond qualification loan program, we're through that 90 days, the board would call for the election, finalize the bond plan, and then step to election to the community. So anyway, you can see it's estimated about 1.5 to 2 years just because you want to get that feedback. You want plenty of time to make decisions. It's not a rush job. You're going to feel really good about what you're putting forth because you've had a lot of time to evaluate different options. Let's see here. So slide 11 gives a summary of the different allowable election dates that we have in Michigan, and then the processes or the key items and when they need to happen. So in the top left corner of the box, we have 3 election dates which will happen in any given year here in Michigan. We have May, August, and November. And then what I normally key on as far as any project, you know, what's the deadline? And that's going to be your treasury meeting. So that's the second item down in that box. So if we were gonna target a May election, we would have our treasury meeting the previous December or January, prior to that May. So that means at that time, we have to know what are our dollars amount we're gonna ask the community. We've gotta know exactly what the estimated project costs are, where we're gonna do it in the building and the financial plan. So everything has to come together that period of time. And you can see from backing up that 90 days of that period, how far in advance we've gotta work even before we're gonna be at the election. If we choose August, that's the March, April timeframe. And then if you choose November, that's the June or July timeframe. And then after that, you can see the different board actions, everything that comes together all the way to election day, which is always that second Tuesday of that month. So this slide is just to give you an overview of the process of putting it together. But just as I talked about in a couple of previous slides, there's a lot going on even before you get to that treasury application. So now we're going to move into more information that's specific to our school district here at Wish Park. And one of the items that really drives what you can get as far as the funding mechanisms for a voted bond issue, what that millage rate is the change in the taxable value of the property base here within the school district. Because if the property base is rising, the millage rate is generating more revenues, and that means you can do a larger project without having to change that millage rate. So this is our 20-year history, going back from 2004 to 2024. You can look in the top right corner, and the community has seen really strong taxable value growth. We're seeing 9, 11%, and 9%. The new 2025 value should be coming out soon. But as far as the community property values, everything's looking really good, really strong, and it's great to see that. You know, talking about how things can change or how we can adjust from the different bond series. If you look down from 2013, 12, 2008, we all lived through that and remember the 2008 property values and housing crisis. We can see what was changing at that time with our property values. So one of the items that we talked about earlier in the bond series, what are the advantages to that? Well, our construction, our financing, and if unfortunately economic conditions begin to move against us, we're able to adjust those bond series accordingly should that play out. But as you can see in the top right corner, everything's been really strong in the area and everything looks good in this area. So, slide 13 is our estimated bond millage rate on our existing bonds. So what this is saying is if we at Oak Park never issued another bond issue, what is the estimated bond millage rate going forward? So the green bars are the annual bond payments that we need to make per year on our existing bonds. And that black line is the estimated bond millage rate. So lower left-hand corner, is 2024 moving all the way out to the year 2054. One key item to look at is the difference between 2026 and 2027. And what you see is that the green bar goes down, it's over 3.5 million, and then it drops into 3 million. So at that period of time, we will have paid off good portions of our existing bonds, and our bond payment's going to drop. Well, if we don't have as high of a bond payment, then we would lower the bond millage rate to 4.37 in that example, because we don't need to collect as many property taxes because we don't have as high of a bond payment. So that's why you see that shift going forward at that time. So it does create, a very good scenario for the community in that, we're paying off our bonds. We do have the bond millage rate playing out going forward. It also provides the opportunity to do more capital funding and not have to raise that millage rate of 5.98 because that opportunity is going to be coming up with the bonds being repaid off. So it's a nice scenario to have between 26 and 27. You have some options here at the community about how to look at additional capital funding and not have to raise that 5.98 if you want to do that, because that bond payment is going to be paid off at that time. So up at the top, this is an illustration. So we always get the question, obviously there's a lot going on, there's a lot planning, but let's just put something together for talking purposes. or just to be able to understand, you know, we talked about, well, what does it mean not to raise the millage rate, or what are we putting together? So again, this is just an illustration. It's just made up numbers at this point. So what is in the blue box, I'm sorry, in the top left corner, this is a November 2026 bond election. So that's the timing that's being illustrated here. And then in the blue box, at the bottom, this is showing a total of election of $29.5 million. So lower right-hand corner of the blue box. That is the figure using this illustration that would be at the ballot language for the not-to-exceed bond amount. So if we walk in the voter booth, community of Oak Park, would you approve $29.5 million for these improvements? That's what they would see in this illustration. Then above that, those bonds would be issued in two series or two phases. The first phase being $10 million in 2027, and the second phase being $19.5 million in 2029. So we talked about we can issue in a bond series, it could be 2 or 3. Again, this is just an illustration, but just to show you what an example capital plan would look like. You would obviously customize it 2, 3, 4 series, however you want to do that, but just to make sure what you're seeing in that blue box is being communicated. Okay. So then, on the far right-hand side, if the community was to approve this millage increase, it's then estimated that the property tax millage rate would stay at 5.98, or there would be no change in the millage rate if they were to approve that. So, you know, kind of talking about our communications earlier, in this illustration we would say, Oak Park community, we're asking you to approve $29.5 million. Here's what we intend to do with the money: parking lots, roofs, athletics, whatever it is. And then it is estimated if you approve this election, it would not change your millage rate from 5.98, because we're going to fill in where that bonds are going to drop off, and we're just going to extend that 5.98 a little bit longer, and you'll see that on the next page. So then if this project is approved, the gold bar is the estimated bond millage rate. The blue line is our existing bonds. So then you're able to show, here's where we are today. If this capital plan was approved, here's what's estimated would happen if this election was approved. Now, all of these are subject to estimates. We can't predict where property values are going to go. But as we talked about earlier, this is the information which would be provided to the community so they can make a decision of putting that together. It's a really nice situation to have, or a decision to work with. What a lot of school districts, from the financial or accounting side of it, what they want to do is not have to increase their millage rate to their community, but at the same time they want to maintain their facilities. So it's nice when you can find that proper balance of, yes, we can maintain our facilities, our parking lots and roofs, and we don't have to change that millage rate. So you've got a lot of good options, and you've got some time before that decision has to be made, so it's a really nice scenario for you and some time to work on it. But that's an illustration how that would play out. All right. So then the next slide is, what is the capital millage rate here at the school district? And when I say capital millage rate, we really have two millage rates. The bond millage rate we levy each year to repay the bonds, so that's the blue box on the far right-hand side. And then you also have a sinking fund, which is a millage rate each year, and you are allowed to then bring in those dollars and use those for capital projects as well. And so what we did, just to bring helpful information to the board, is we went from 2005 going forward, so you could see the history of the bond millage rate, the history of the sinking fund, and then the total millage rate that the community has seen over that period of time. So we just wanted to have that information because it's a good question and wanted to provide that to you. All right. Last slide. What are some example communications? What do a lot of school districts do? There's been a lot of good discussion tonight. Doing a voted bond issue, it's important to get community input, a lot of community feedback, and then get the information out there that's factual so a community member can make their decision. I just pulled this one from Bullock Creek School District. They had a 2024 bond issue, and here's some of the information that they put on their website. They had highlighted projects on the right-hand side. They talked about voting information, what they'll see on the ballot. I've seen it done many different ways, but as we talked about earlier, the goal is just to be transparent and inform people so that they can make a decision. Here at the school district, and the attorneys will jump in, we're not supposed to advocate, we're supposed to be factual, we'll present to them, and putting those together, and just wanted to show, what some examples look like. But again, there's many different ways, many different options to communicate that information.
Can you share with the board the percentage success rate of a no-mill increase versus a taxable increase, and the success rating between the two? And just kind of reinforce that we're looking at a no-mill rate and what the successes are in the state of Michigan.
Yeah, I don't have the exact figures, but it's significant. I'm sure it's 80 to 85% higher if you're not having to ask for an increase in the millage rate, and that can drop to 40, 45, 50 if you are having to ask, for an increase in the millage rate, right? And just as we talked about before, a lot of the school districts are working with trying to find that balance of not having to raise that millage rate and to maintain facilities. But you can imagine if it's been, 10, 15, 20 years since your last capital project, well, at that point, you're probably going to be having to ask for an increase because it's been a long time. So yes, whenever you get that opportunity or see that going forward and you want to find that balance, it's good to have that planning period. You've really got a nice scenario about how things have been set up here.
And this is what we're attempting to do.
Yeah, we were saying that's the one you're working on.
That's what
So
we're
it's-
working
so
on.
it Stay status quo.
Yeah, but still continue to improve.
Yeah.
Alright. And then like every good accountant, disclaimer, disclosure. Page in the back. Any other final questions? Or those are great questions, those are good points. It's been great working on the prior project, and you really have a nice set of options ahead of you. And then the other nice thing is, this is not a decision that's 2 weeks away, or we've got to do this thing. You've got plenty of time to get community input, put these things together. That's not having to far off, so it's a good option to have before the board and the community.
Did I miss it, or did you talk about the repayment period?
So the maximum any individual bond sale can be is 30 years, so 30 years or less. So we can do, it really depends on keeping that millage rate at 5.98, but we try to do shorter bonds if possible just to pay it down sooner. It'll kind of depend on the capital plan. And then that's my job, is to give you, well, if we do 25, we do 30-year bonds, so you can put those side by side and see what that looks like.
Mr. Nelson, thank you for the presentation. Are there any other questions for Mr. Nelson? You have contact information in case someone has a question? Contact?
You're supposed to put them in the cards.
Oh, is there? All right, well, we'll get it. So thank you for the presentation, much appreciated, and I feel ready to go do your job now. I don't. So thank you.
Yep, no, thank you very much, really appreciate your time. I gave this thing really kind of not the most exciting thing, but hopefully you've got the parameters, you've got a lot of good planning options. So thank you for your time tonight. Anything that pops up, we're ready to help.
All right,
Thank you.
Okay.
Somebody warm? We got one with child, so we're gonna make sure she's not doing it for you, we're doing it for the little one. All right, we're going to item 4B, K-12, Dr. Ferris here, I just want to make sure she didn't have anything she wanted to say. Okay, all right. We're going to item 4B, K-12 curriculum, summer school, and Mrs. Murphy is here to present.
Yes, good evening to our board, our superintendent, and our cabinet. What a wonderful time to come after finance as we talk about the summer learning opportunities for the scholars of the Oak Park School
We're
District.
doing this without the whole team?
I know, look, they don't
I
put
see
me up.
one team member over
One
there.
team member. And another team member.
We
Okay.
feel a little cheated that we don't have the whole team in here
What's
ready to set it off. So go
Right.
ahead.
Like all by myself. Okay, that's my word on tonight. But I'm going to be quick, and as please remember, because we have a ton of information to get through tonight. You have your index cards. If you have any questions, please write them down, and then our Department of Teaching and Learning will make sure to respond to them in our weekly Friday updates to the board. But this presentation is specifically related to our Summer Discovery Program opportunity for the scholars of the Oak Park School District. I am Shana Murphy, the Director of Curriculum. This presentation was collaboratively completed with Sherry Bugzeiger, our Director of Data, along with our Superintendent, Mr. Angel Abdullahad. As per usual, just as a reminder, here are the 5 core value beliefs of the Oak Park School District. First and foremost, maintaining physical, emotional, and cultural safety. Definitely aligned to the financial presentation we just received. Building productive relationships with all stakeholders, providing equitable, anti-racist instruction and practices, having prepared, thoughtful, successful, and engaged members of a global community, and maximize our resources, again, related to our financial presentation, with transparency and accountability. So to kick us off, the way we were able to design this summer program option with our superintendent and Ms. Bugzeiger, it is through funding and partnerships. So Summer Discovery program brought to us by the United Way of Southeastern Michigan in conjunction and partnership with the Balmer Group. Superintendent Abdullahad and Ms. Bugzeiger, we went out for this grant and we were approved for this grant. So we were approved for up to $1.2 million. So I want to shout out my team member, Sherry Bugzeiger, working with our superintendent and Dr. Foster to get this grant to provide this wonderful opportunity for our scholars this summer. That funding equates to about $2,000 per student. And this grant only covers students in K through 8. However, we have other funding sources to cover 9 through 12. We will not leave them out. And the program is 4 days per week plus 1 Friday for field trips, and it covers a whole host of things. Staff salaries, transportation, materials, meals, enrichment activities, field trip expenses. All that means is we keep the fund balance healthy. So that's all we love to see. All right. All right, so all district institutes, as usual, we break this up into 4 key areas of transportation. Again, for summer programming, all students are offered transportation that mirrors are during the school year. So if they receive, a certain bus during the regular school year, they'll get that same busing opportunity for summer. Number 2 is curriculum. We always focus on standards-based and targeted programming to address student needs. Food services, we love to feed the babies, so we'll make sure we have hot breakfast and lunch for all of the scholars that are attending summer programming. And then staffing, we love that our Oak Park instructional leaders and highly qualified certified teachers and peer educators are pumped and excited to support us in offering this opportunity for our students. Program locations, so we had to revert back to a few years ago when we were kind of combining. We used to do this a lot many years ago. But for elementary, we will be in one location, all 3 elementaries in one location this summer, in part due to a lot of the capital improvements and facility updates that we have to do in the other buildings. So all elementary will be at Pepper. I was getting ready to say Key, y'all already know. Will be at Pepper Elementary. Middle school, OPHS, and Nova will all be at the high school, but in all totally separate wings. Again, this is due to a lot of the facility updates we have to do in the other buildings across the district. And ESY, which is also known as Extended School Year option for our students with disabilities who require that continuation of services, that will also be located at Pepper Elementary.
How many of those students are there?
Pardon?
How many of those?
Right now, it's roughly about 15, but the teachers are still gathering their data because it has to be a database decision. Our summer learning calendar is here. We start June 23rd. Oh. June 23rd through July the 31st. We go Monday through Thursday with 1 Friday. Because of the grant with the Balmer Group, we do have to provide 25 days of instruction. So that 25th day, we will make that field trip Friday on or around July the 25th. There is no school in recognition of the July 4th holiday. So K-8 Summer Discovery, our program, anticipated program leaders are there on the bottom. We have Mr. Haley for elementary academics, Ms. Prince for elementary enrichment, and Mr. Island for middle school summer programming. Our daily schedule. Now, because of the grant with the Balmer Group, we have to offer I believe it's an 8-hour day for children. An 8-hour day. A part of that 8 hours, I know, right? Let all the parents, whoop, whoop. Okay, look, 8-hour day, sign up. Okay, beginning at 7 to 8 a.m., we can offer before care and early parent drop-off. Buses, we will be running our bus routes beginning at 7:30 a.m. Morning session begins 7:45 to 8:30. That's arrival and hot breakfast. And then 8:30 to 11:30, there's a typo, I'm sorry, not to 11:30 p.m. We will not be offering after work care. Like everybody in Oak Park, go sign up.
16-hour day, go ahead.
Sign up. But no, excuse us for that typo, 8:30 to 11:30 a.m. We will offer 3 hours of math and English instruction. And then there'll be a lunch break. Hot lunch is provided, and then half hour of teacher planning, and then we transition into an afternoon of enrichment. So we're looking to offer a bunch of great opportunities, crafting, cooking, sports, music, all of those things. We had our teachers do an interest survey, and we had them mentoring all of the things that they wanted to offer our children. So we're excited to offer this enrichment opportunity in SEL, which is social emotional learning, in the afternoon. The day does end at 3:45, okay? But that is our entire day for K-8 only summer discovery. And as I mentioned, the enrichment programs that our staff are highly interested in offering to our children are listed there. We have arts, music, dance, theater, STEM, so some science and technology offerings, social emotional, so mentoring, group interactions, and then of course, it's summertime, we need to get our kids outside and moving. So PE or physical education, sports, games, outdoor things to get them out in the sunlight in the summertime. And as per usual from our last couple of years, our K-8 Summer Discovery, our student selection, we will focus on students who are at risk of meeting our benchmark requirements for standards instruction. We will focus on iReady. So we're going to take a look at the spring iReady data and specifically invite children. It is open to everyone, but we want to target, it's open to everybody, Trustee Madison. But we want to specifically target those scholars who needed just a little bit more time to demonstrate mastery of their grade level content. So it is open to everyone, but we're going to make a conscientious effort to reach out to the children who needed a little bit, we only in school 180 days. Sometimes some kids need, extra 10, extra 25, so we're going to make sure we reach out to them, but it's open to everybody. Of course, we're going to offer hot breakfast and lunch, focus on literacy, math, and social emotional learning, and then do a lot of community building, those soft skills that our kids are lacking, that we need to really make sure that we're sending them out into the world as productive citizens in society. And that's just a brief overview of our summer curriculum for K-8. So for ELA, we're doing some direct instruction, make sure the kids know, okay, these are your sounds, your blends, here's how you find the inference from this passage. We're going to use iReady, and then social emotional learning. Capturing kids' hearts, we're going to, we invested a lot in capturing kids' hearts thanks to our superintendent this year. So we're going to leverage a lot of those lessons that are already available to us. And then for mathematics, we're going to use our math expressions that we already use, and then iReady, which all the kids are already familiar with. Program impact for our K-8, of course, we're focused on academic growth with that targeted instruction to specifically prevent summer learning loss that we know all too well. Enrichment, so we're so excited to offer these enrichment opportunities that it's just not summer school, because a lot of kids don't want to come because it's just, we just doing some more reading, some more math, okay, I don't want to go mama. But we're going to offer these other fun activities that they can get excited about to come and to be partakers of in our summer activities. Social emotional development, so teamwork, resilience, all those soft skills kids need to be great members of our community, and then community building, strengthening those local partnerships and family support, aka providing full day summer. Yes, President.
What is our communication strategy on this? Because 9 times out of 10, you're right, you're going to hear, especially when you're adolescents, I ain't in the mood, and the parents probably don't feel like fighting with them to get them up in the morning. What's the communication strategy to talk about the benefits and all the things they'll receive in order to get the parents to say, you know what, you're going?
Absolutely. I'll provide a short answer now, and I'll provide more information in our weekly update. But a large part of the grant is the marketing line item. They provide a lot of funding for us to blast it out, exhaust all of our resources, posters, our weekly newsletter, sending all of these communications. There's a line item in the grant that provides us more funding to really reach those families and let them know this is an opportunity that our children have, that they can drop them off beginning at 7 o'clock in the morning, receive hot breakfast and lunch, and get a full day of activities inclusive of academics. We're hoping that draw, a full day as opposed to a half day, I gotta make way to come find, somebody to pick you up. We really believe that our community will step up. We did this program, a similar type of programming about 4 years ago, and it was highly successful because of that full day. You got to go, and we're again, also those enrichment opportunities. So mentoring, sports, cooking, STEM, gaming,
Is that how we're selling that?
yes.
In addition to the fact that you can come and make sure you're getting academic enrichment, but not forgetting the fact that there are some other aspects of this that you might find appealing.
Yes,
Okay, all right.
absolutely. Now I'm going to switch gears a little bit. The Balmer Group through the United Way, the grant, Summer Discovery is only K-8, and that is by the grant. However, we will offer a summer learning opportunity for our 9 through 12 scholars as well for OPHS and NOVA. So for our high school programming, we're going to focus obviously on students who are credit deficient to make sure that they are on track for graduation, and catch them before they get all the way to junior year and senior year. So we will focus on 9th and 10th graders missing ELA and math credits to catch them up, to provide again a little bit more learning opportunities for summer, and then for 11th and 12th graders any missing graduation credits.
We got somebody who doesn't agree with some of
I know, right? Look how she made that move. We will also offer hot breakfast and lunch to all of our scholars, K through 12, and then of course still focusing on those soft skills, social emotional learning for 9 through 12. Their setup is similar to last year. Core subjects, so we will focus on ELA and math specifically for 9th and 10th grade. Direct instruction, again, some kids just needed a little bit extra time to master those concepts, and that's okay. That's what we offer, summer learning opportunity. And then blended, so we'll use Edmentum, aka E2020, to specifically focus on those children in 11th and 12th who need some credit recovery options. Maybe they couldn't focus during the year, some life happens, right? So we want to offer those opportunities for catch up for our seniors and juniors. And then capturing kids' hearts, and then hands-on activities. There's an example schedule. It is slightly different from K-8. K-8 is the only one that's full day. 9 through 12 is a traditional half-day summer learning opportunity, in part because we also recognize that a lot of our children work or they have other commitments, and that's okay. We don't want that to serve as a barrier for them coming to recover some of their credits. So we wanted to honor that, provide them some opportunities to come and get that additional instruction and credits. And then for another sample schedule for 11 to 12, this directly mirrors what we did last summer for 9 through 12th grade. There's nothing different for this year. And finally, extended school year. This is our Office of Specialized Student Services with Director Springfield. Per IDEA, we have to offer ESY for children who need that continuation of care and service via their from data from their IEPs or their individual education plans. So what is extended school year? It provides specialized support for students that require instruction beyond the normal school year. It is considered for every child, so every child that has an IEP in our district, the team comes together to determine if their data looks like they need additional time, right, in programming. It is supported by data, so all of our case managers and special education providers are looking at their student data, and they are making recommendations to our Director of Specialized Student Services in conjunction with parent conversations and different things to determine if that child is eligible or needs or requires extended school year. It is not mandated for every child that has an IEP. It is only for students who will truly benefit from extension of services over summer. It is based on their disability area, so not all children qualify. It is not automatic it is not based on their disability area. It is not automatic from year to year, so teachers have to look at their progress and their data every year to determine if they are eligible. And then it is not for new goals and objectives of their IEP. It is to continue what the child has already been striving toward during the traditional school year. So this is just a slide that shows the selection criteria. This is by IDEA, the federal law that talks about students with disabilities and what's required. And if a child meets those requirements, then they can be eligible for extended school year services. Now, one qualification. If a child has an IEP during the year and they do not meet ESY, they can still come to summer school. They just won't be in ESY, which is a more restrictive environment, because those kids need a little bit more, attention and just a smaller class. But even if they have an IEP during the year, they can still, that doesn't matter, they can still come to summer school. Nobody is disqualified. And then there's just an example of the ESY program and daily schedule. Now the other difference with ESY, if they are at ESY, it's mirrored after the 9 through 12 schedule, which means they're only half day. Because it's summer, a lot of those kids, they need that reprieve or they may have ABA therapy, or they may have other things in the afternoon that they can go to. That's only if they're in the ESY programming. If they're in the traditional K-8, even if they have an IEP but they don't qualify for ESY, they're still eligible to come and they get the full day opportunity.
Any questions on this? Trustee Corcoran?
I had a comment, and the comment that I had is that, of course, you brought it all my questions are really answered. But I do say that I strongly ask to encourage, as you said, you've put it out for every platform for everyone to be able to know that their child can come to summer school or take advantage of the
Balmer Group.
Also, getting the word out, to the parents, to let them know that if their child is, like right now, struggling, that when they do come to summer school, those points extend, to the following year. So if they're behind, they have time to make up for the following year, so, they can please take advantage. I strongly encourage them to take advantage, of this great summer school program and also the Balmer.
And after the board, after this presentation, our intent is to blast it even more. We wanted to make sure that it was, all things were working together. But we have a strong push for marketing, to send out communications, all of those things. We're going to go pedal to the metal after today.
Did you say how many students you can accept?
We are, we open.
Some schools.
There is no cap, no limit at this time. As long as we have staffing and space available for students, come on.
Do you want to address how we're opening it up to prospects?
Yes. So our superintendent is always looking for ways to increase enrollment here in the Oak Park School District. So we are also offering it for newly enrolled students. So if the parents complete the enrollment process for enrollment for the 25-26 school year, then they are also eligible to start in summer school. So if all families looking for enrollment in the Oak Park School District, as long as the enrollment application and packet and all those things are approved for enrollment for the 25-26 school year, they are eligible to attend our summer school as well.
Question I ask every year, I think I ask it every year, and I think the answer is always no. But do we offer summer school for advancement at the high school level? Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do know what you mean. We did a few years ago when we had the oil program through Oakland schools, but that is definitely something we will look into for. Sorry to disappoint you, President. However, 8th graders who are on track, they can earn high school credit. I'm sorry, I don't know if I should have put that on there. They can earn high school credit.
I saw that.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you, Shayla. Shayla Wright is our ELA coordinator in the Teaching and Learning Department. She helped me put this together. But 8th graders going into high school can earn high school credits, a quarter of a credit, an elective credit through summer school.
There was a time, many, many moons ago, given the gray hair on my face, where you could take like econ and government. I don't know if they offer econ and government. Econ and government in advance of your senior year, 'cause that's when they offered it. You know, I'm sure that there are some people that would qualify for that if we were able to do it.
Yeah, that's a great point, and that's something I can take a look at with the OPHS leaders and counselors. What courses could we provide access to over through summer programming?
That's where you start to see some value, start to see some uptick on the enrollment. You mean they're telling me I can do it now and I don't have to do it later? I mean,
That's true. That's true.
so,
And that was our hope also to provide that for 8th graders, because we know, they're they think they've grown, they're going to high school, they want their summers to themselves, but no, come to summer school. You can earn some of your high school credit and get a head start, on your transcript, so.
Mr. Abdullah, do you have
Yes.
something more?
I just wanna, I know what seems to be a condensed presentation has taken weeks and months of the administration's time. Principals meeting, this was not done in silo. They were working here. Sometimes I would interrupt, but most times they were working together and processing through all of this to make sure that what you're seeing is a reflection of all the building leadership. And so I just want to thank the entire team, the principals, everyone involved for doing this.
Thank
They do
you.
a great
Thank
job.
you, Superintendent Abdullah. Trustee Madison.
I just wanted to say that, here it is. The survey that you put out, that's what, attracted me to the program, cause, the kid's dad is always looking for a summer program, literally always, like every year. And then we're always too late for the community center, and like the wording on the survey, it just was like, oh my God, they going here, and I was like, so I just wanted to let you know that was great. Everything that you wrote in there, and just was like, oh, it gets better and better, so, yeah, I will be putting my kids in. I'll be saying, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anything else? Oh, sorry, Trustee Clark.
It's okay. I just have one quick question. I have a couple other written down.
So ask your quick one since you wrote your
I'll
numbers
ask a
down.
quick one. As far as the ESY is concerned, is there a healthy availability for teachers and paras to be on staff, understanding the IEP and what's going to be needed for the students when they come for the duration of summer school?
Yes, that's a great question. We did a staff interest survey, and I don't have the numbers right here, but I can put them in my update. We had an overwhelming response of staff who are excited to offer. We have a lot of parent educators, so to even do full, I was very surprised that people were willing to do 7 to 4 p.m. But we have a ton of Oak Park staff who are dedicated and committed to offering and being available for our summer programming, para educators, teachers, K through 12, TK, pre-K through 12. No, we're not doing pre-K, but the pre-K staff is available to support us in our K through 12. But our principals have been amazing. Mr. Haley and Mr. Island, they went with our team to the training for the Balmer Group. Ms. Buckziger, Ms. Shayla Wright, our ELA coordinator. And it's been truly a team effort, bouncing ideas off Mr. Abdullah Had and the rest of the team. And Ms. Prince, she is so excited to offer enrichment for the elementary. Like, you can't even tell her nothing, okay? She wants to do a play and a this and a that, and just very excited. So we are definitely excited.
The Balmer Group is like getting great advertising tonight. You even said their name about 20 times. All right.
We want our money.
Anything else from members of the board quickly? Nothing else. Thank you for the presentation. We know how much work it is. If your people don't uplift you, who will?
I love our team. They are awesome. Our team is awesome.
Okay, we're at item 4C, which is a presentation coming from our Director of Culture and Climate in conjunction with DM Burr. We'll be talking about security. Mr. Falk, the floor is yours, sir. Already? Been an hour, 18 minutes. I must be like, y'all must think I'm like a taskmaster. Does anyone need a bio break? Do we need to do a bio break? Okay, let's do this. It is 7:18, 7:19, 7:25, we start. Thank you. we go. We are back and we are at the presentation for C. We have Mr. Falk here, our Director of Culture and Climate, to present about district security. So, Mr. Falk, without further ado, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. Good evening, Oak Park board members. My name is Derek Falk. I am your Director of Culture and Climate here in the Oak Park School District. Tonight I'll be presenting a comprehensive security overview in collaboration with Mr. John Allen, CEO of DM Burke. So we're going to get started. In front of you, you have your packages. It is quite thick. This was a very interesting task here that we tried to make sure that we did fair with it. I want you to, if you have any questions or anything like that, I did give you a card, please fill that out, and I will go over that with Mr. Abdullah so that we can get you your answers. So, purpose of this presentation is to summarize a decade of discipline data that is stored in our student information system. It's called MyStar. We're also going to talk about security training, staffing, and surveillance of grades. Our goal is transparency, accountability, and a clear roadmap for continued safety. Because there was so much data over the past 10 years, from 2015 to now, we had to break it up into tiers. So the Office of Discipline and Referral Services breaks the discipline up into tiers. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 4. For the sake of this presentation, it's broken up into 4. Tier 1 is basically minor infractions. Tier 2 is moderate disruptions. Tier 3 is serious or repeated offenses. And Tier 4 are critical infractions involving violence. Now let's go over Tier 1. Minor misbehaviors. Okay? So, here are your minor infractions, as you can see up here. Targeted class, skipping, truancy, hall sweep, horseplay. All of those are minor infractions. Now, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is a trend graph. I'm not going to do trend graphs for everyone, but you can see that in 2015-16, we actually were above 3,000, but in 16, 17, 17, 18, it was a tremendous drop, steep. From that standpoint there, we have been kind of going downward or flatlining for the most part in these infractions. I did forget to say one thing, and that was that I did take out the COVID year in the graph. It would have just flatlined it and just been a peak at the bottom. Here, your Tier 1 discipline trends, this is per 100 students, okay? You can see that this graph still remains pretty much the same. It did not change much. So you can see that we actually still had that tremendous drop from 16-17 to 17-18 and pretty much maintained a flat line going across. There are a few dips and mountainous little pieces there, but for the most part, we were able to capture those things and bring them back into alignment. Some of our top infractions include no student ID, dress code, disruptive behavior, skipping class, our goals. Some of the key takeaways I already discussed, but after 2018-19, no school year exceeded 405 Tier 1 incidents, showing a consistent system control. The Tier 1 is the smallest of all tiers at this time. 2015-16, there were 79.2 Tier 1 infractions per 100 students. 24-25, that number has dropped down to 1.2. Tier 2. Tier 2 is moderate disruptions, okay, that require administrative support. Here are some of your Tier 2 infractions: disrespect towards employees, refusal to follow, refusal to follow staff directions, leaving class without permission. You can see those. Now, here it is, the graph. The graph is showing, and again, this is MyStar data. The graph is showing that in 2015-16, there was a high rate above 1,200. You can see clearly that that is a slope going down. And that is a tribute to the fantastic staffing that we had at that time. So we have student infractions going down in 17, 18, 18, 19, 21, and 22. We did have a little uptick in 22, 23, but as you can see, we are on a downward slope. This is per 100 in Tier 2. Now, this is a little different, but the main piece of this is that it did go up in 18, 19, it flatlined in 17, 18, but it's still going down. So we're trying to get those infractions to decrease as time, they have decreased over the decade. Some of our top 5, or some of our Tier 2 infractions: disrespect towards employees, refuse to follow directions, excessive tardiness, use of cell phone and electronics. 90% decrease in behavior over the past 10 years, less than 300 incidents reported since 2022. So these are some of your Tier 2 takeaways. And again, this is all based on the data that is inside of MySpec. Tier 3. Well, Tier 3 is serious or repeated behaviors posing safety or school environment concerns. Well, you can have a long-term suspension for these. You can be expelled for some of these here. So, there are quite a few of these major infractions: intimidation, verbal threats, sexual harassment, sexual misconduct, physical aggression. There are quite a few here. I'm not going to read all of them. I'll let you kind of peruse that for a sec. Now, when you look at the graph here, you still have that same slope going down. So your slope is going from your left downward to your right. So again, in 2015-16, it was kind of high. The team in 17-18 started bringing it down, and we had a steep, it came down very steeply in 18-19. And again, we had a little uptick in 23-24, and now we are actually coming down again. This is our Tier 3 infractions. Per 100 students, Tier 3. Well, this is a little bit of a mountainous piece here where you can kind of see we went up, then we came down again at 16, 17, 18. Came down again for the 19, 20, and pretty much uptick again in 23, 24, and we're starting to come back down again. Some of our infractions: physical aggression, verbal threats, inappropriate touching, harassment and bullying, possession and use of inhalants and vapes. Tier 3 infractions dropped from 1,157 in 2015-16 down to about 152. Physical aggression and verbal threats decreased this way. Tier 4. Discipline trends and insights. Here we go with the critical infractions involving violence, threats, weapons requiring suspension or expulsion. Inside of Tier 4, you will see selling and distributing drugs, possession of dangerous materials, explosive, fireworks, assault, fighting, threatening bodily harm. All of those are Tier 4 infractions that can get you long-term suspended or expelled. The graph. Representing the graph here, as you can see, it kind of flatlined from 15-16 to 17-18. But here again, the staff have worked with the students, and that include all staff, from security to teachers to administrators, that actually had that slope going down from 17-18 to 18-19 school year. Went up a little bit here in 22-23, reaching right about 550, but you can see that we are bringing that down as of today over the 23 and 24 school year. Per 100, this is the mountain, like a roller coaster, but again, it's going up, going down, but the trend is still a downward slope. So we are trying to still work with that and maintain it. Some of our tier 4 infractions are fighting, threatening bodily harm, assault, possession of deadly weapons, possession of dangerous materials as well. Key takeaways, 53.8% overall decrease over the last 10 years in this period. 54% drop in infractions in 2 years from 23 to 25. Lowest count in 5 years, 24-25, had fewest tier 4 infractions since 2019-20. Security staff overview. Okay. So for the security staff overview, we currently have 24 officers throughout the district, all through Denver. Total security officers currently, well, we had 24 that are contracted, and now we actually have 24 officers that are working throughout. Okay. Behavior interventionists, we have 2. We have Jerome Collins and Ronnie Ostion, both housed at Oak Park High School. DM Burke Supervisor Director, Eric Hollowell, stationed at Oak Park High School. Security leads, Michael Wilson and Stephanie Frank. Mr. Wilson is stationed at OPA, and Ms. Tyner is stationed at Oak Park High School. At this time, I'm going to bring in Mr. John Allen, CEO of DM Burke, to talk about security staffing and coverage.
Thank you for letting me be able to communicate with you. Welcome. And so the staffing and coverage, as you can see, going back 10 years, we had probably the most staff we've ever had at 28. I think prior to that, we even had more staff, up to, I think, 32. This does not include, so these numbers are your morning 7 a.m. to 3:30 in the afternoon. It does not include the afternoon, evening coverage. But in 2025, 2024, 2025, we changed that model, and that is, though the total staff of 24.62 is actually spread out throughout the entire day. So that number is broken down on first shift and on second shift to be able to provide additional coverage for evening events. Whereas before, we had that amount of people, like in 2019, 2020, we had 25 people that would only cover morning until afternoon, and then we would bring in people on overtime to be able to cover events. So we've been able to reduce overtime by bringing in, staggering our staff and working them throughout the day.
Okay, thank you. All right. So here we go. Let's talk about elementary. Lessinger, Einstein, Key, and Pepper. Those are our elementary schools. They all have one officer. Okay? Now, this is our structure, as Mr. Allen was talking about. So you do 4 days, 10-hour shifts. So that's how they get their 40 hours. But you're saying that they're missing a day. We go to school 5 days. We add 1 extra officer to them to rotate. So that way we keep down our what? Our overtime. And we also maintain a healthy staff person that's not working a whole lot of overtime. And it cuts down on call-offs as well. This structure ensures focused coverage during peak school hours, and it reduces fatigue, as I stated. Oak Park Preparatory Academy. Skip the slide, so I'll give you a moment to catch up. The office staff and the total assigned positions is 7. We are fully staffed at 7 officers as of today. It was 6, and then after discussing that with Mr. Abdullah and Mr. Allen, added an officer because we felt like there was a uptick in infractions at the middle school, so to give more support to the middle school staff. Oak Park High School, total assigned is 11 positions, currently staffed 11. I believe that we just received an extra officer today. That would take us to 12. So we are trying to make sure that we maintain those graph lines and those trends. At this day, we have no shortages. Mr. Allen was talking about the shift structure earlier. At Oak Park High School, it's kind of important for you to really understand that Oak Park High School is a very busy place. From 8 a.m. in the morning until 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, but mainly about 8 o'clock. It is a very busy place. So what we did was the team came up and we said, okay, we know we have it covered in the morning shift from 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. But we need a way to address lunch and a little part of the after-school programming. So we created a midday. So that midday is 10 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. What does that do for us? Well, it gives breaks to the morning shift, and it also helps to tackle lunch time. If you've ever been in high school at lunchtime, it's busy, okay? So then we have another shift that comes in at 12. Now that shift actually takes us to the end of the day with the football team, the band, and everybody is there. So we're trying to make sure we have coverage throughout the day. And this is the system that we came up with. Nova Academy, total assigned is 1, currently staffed 1. Been very consistent with that. Training and professional development. Well, right here, you can see we have had many, but we have had training. So we have active shooter training, report writing, school safety protocols, shelter in place, de-escalation, managing fights, radio communication. And I'm going to bring in Mr. Allen so he can talk about the invert.
So some of the different trainings that we've had is the avoiding use of force, and we actually had a group training on that. As you'll see on the next slide, where it talks about security training, we had supervisor training to assist the supervisor. This took place at Southfield, and it was a joint training with multiple districts from Oakland County. We did CPR, different types of training. And then we also try and have that every summer where we have 1 or 2 days where we bring everybody together to be able to have a large training session, and we kind of pick the location, whatever works best for everybody. We also did training during winter breaks so that it didn't interfere with the school day, so that we were able to have our officers in working while school's in session. We went over security officer expectations, active listening skills. We did emotional on the next slide, emotional intelligence, the keys to working more effectively with others. We did essential communication tools. There was an entire series. We did employee emotional intelligence series. We did one just for the supervisors, which was emotional intelligence, and it was an entire series. We did DISC, which was for all of our managers, and there's a series involved with that. And then we have our yearly student interaction policy. That is a process they have to sign off on for what they can and cannot do, involving students, involving working with parents and teachers and in the building. Some of the other training that we have forthcoming, we do annual CPR training during the summer. We will have it again this coming summer. We go over report writing, threat assessments and behavioral indicators, restorative practices, gang awareness, and intervention.
Here's a picture of Officer Dean doing active shooter training over the spring break to the staff. This was over the weekend. It was during that week. Here's the team here. We even brought in George, who is the person that is over, he's security and doing at Michigan Works, and we brought him in as well. So we're actually incorporating and making sure he's at our trainings. I'm bringing Ms. Allen back up for the security team.
So about a year and a half ago, we started a new Employee of the Month program, And so that takes care of all 400 of our security personnel across the state and into Ohio. And in the last 12 months, or actually in the last, it should be, it's actually a year and a half, 4 Oak Park security officers were honored as the Employee of the Month. And there's only 3 employees selected company-wide every month. And they were nominated by either their supervisor, a faculty member, or a fellow employee. And they each receive a certificate. They receive a glass plaque. They also receive a $250 check. These are actually, they also, Mr. Flanagan also did something above and beyond, and he went and got medals. And so these are pictures of the different officers that got a medal along with their award and their certificate each time they got theirs. And so these were some of the names of the individuals. That there was an emergency at Oak Park High School for A. Catola, and Reginald McCain, Robert Moore, and Stephanie Tyner assisted in that. That was a pretty serious incident, and they stepped up and took control of that situation, and we really thank them for that, and we recognize them in our company, in our newsletter, and stuff like that.
Technology and surveillance. Well, we spent some money. Thank you. We appreciate it. Evolve, Milestone, and Zero Eyes. What is Evolve? Evolve is a technology, and it's an advanced weapon system where when students walk through a bag detection, so you can see if they have metals or they have anything, any sort of weapon. It's an AI-powered device. Key features is touchless. It's AI-powered. As I stated, students walk through without removing bags. And this is important because initially, I'll give you a story. Initially, when we took on the task of checking bags, we had students lined all the way up to the football field from door 28, door 28. So, we came up to the superintendent, asked him for some metal detectors. He said, get the best. We did it. That's Evolve. And that allows students to come in. Once they come in, if it goes red up on there, it makes a notification on the body, on the kiosk, which is a tablet, of where that student has something that could possibly be a danger. Key features: scans hundreds of people per hour with minimal delay. Live alerts. Security teams are instantly notified. Potential threats with imaging pinpoint. That is what I was talking about. So if somebody had something on, it will pinpoint where it is on their body. Here is the first day of Evolve, and what you will see here is this was the very first day that it was set up at Oak Park High School. Of course, we had our chief come over. We also had Mr. Arbonowski, Officer Arbonowski, and Officer Benson come over. The gentleman at the kiosk is the second Tyler. He ain't the first one. He's the second. Just so happens he has the same last name. He was the person that was he was over security from D.M. Burr at that time. And the person in gray is the person that set it up, Mike. Now, what you have here is Oak Park High School. We have a 2-lane system at Oak Park High School. The student in the front, the young lady with the white and red on, she walked through. Now, I caught this picture late. The green actually turned red, okay? So she's actually gonna go to the right. If you see in this picture, she's over at the table getting checked. The kiosk is with Reggie McCain, who got the, who helped Mr. Catola. That's Reginald. And they are checking bags. Now, it's still green. So now what happened is this young man in the front, he didn't go off. So what do we do with him? We let him pass through. This is, if you don't have anything, the system is saying you don't have anything, then we let you go through. Here it is at Nova. This is a single system. And again, students walking through, there is nothing that is hindering him. He will just come on through and go to class. Evolve matters because it reduces the bottleneck. It increases detection accuracy and improves student and staff perception of safety. Let's go to Milestone. Milestone System is a video management software platform used to monitor and manage and review security camera footage across the school district. Why does Milestone matter? It supports documentation for disciplinary action, legal review, reinforces campus-wide accountability and deterrences, helps investigate fights, theft, trespassing, and safety concerns, improves real-time response during emergencies. Key features: centralized camera monitoring system, and this is another one, event tagging and playback. So you get to go back in time and see actually what happened. You can't go back too far, but you definitely go back about 20 days. High resolution video support, user permission and access logs are crucial. So everybody does not have access to the camera system. You have to have permission from the superintendent. One last thing about the camera system. We have more than 400 plus cameras as well throughout the district. Zero eyes. So you say you got Evolve, but why do you need zero eyes? Well, you got to walk through Evolve, right? You got to walk through Evolve. But if somebody came in here right now and they brandished a gun and there's a camera, Evolve will go off.
Zero eye.
I'm sorry, thank you, zero eyes, thank you, boss. Zero eyes. Zero eyes will go off, okay? So it is a weapon detection system that uses our current camera system. It's a tag-along, okay? Has real-time gun detection. Human verification. So just because it went off, there's some place in Hawaii that looks at that, and what they do is they verify it, and then they send out a notification to Mr. Abdullah, myself, and Tiffany Cavell, so that we can immediately address the matter. When Zero Eyes was going through, it was a very tough piece because they had to link it with our camera system, and Oak Park Public Safety was there with us every step of the way because those calls go to them too. So when that goes off, it goes off at the police station as well. It's 24/7 monitoring, constant vigilance without additional on-site staff. Help stop active shooters. So in the event, Mr. Abdullah and myself, we have gone to a few trainings. Somebody could be in the parking lot, and if they pull a weapon, the camera's going to catch it. The camera catches it, Zero Eyes catches it. Okay? And then the system starts to run. We'll talk about, just go back in the past a little bit, just so you can know what actually went on. School year 2012-2013, metal detector for Nova Academy. That was the only metal detector in the district except for the other alternative school that we had. Both of us had a metal detector. School year 21-22, K-9 unit was came to the district. Bag checks and handheld body wands were used every day at Oak Park High School. Let's get back to Zero Eyes a little bit. I think this is Pepper. And the alarm went off. So let me give you the story. The alarm goes off, guardian calls, they call me, okay? So they call, and what happens is that if they don't get me right away, they will immediately send out an officer, okay? When they send out the officer, Zero Eyes see the officer on the screen, and if you can kind of look right there, he got his gun out. See that square around there? That's real there. That's what was sent to me. So that's letting me know that somebody's in the building that has their gun out. Okay? Whoa. Yes. Here's Oprah. Okay, Oprah. And the student is coming in with a plastic gun for whatever was going on that day. System went off. Put the box around it. They called us. Said, Derek, non-lethal. It's a non-lethal weapon. But we want to let you know that you got one in the building. Not done yet. Can you see it at nighttime? Yeah. You can see it right there in the box. It's in your handout. It's in red. He has it pulled. School year 22-23, Evolve was placed at Oak Park High School in Nova. School year 24-25, K-9 unit was removed. Evolve was placed at Oak Park Preparatory Academy. Zero Eyes was placed throughout the Oak Park School District. Full functionality. That's saying that every camera in Oak Park has Zero Eyes on it. What does this all mean? Well, decline in officer count over the year is 12.7%, despite the decline per capita increase from 0.67 to 0.82 over the decade. Since 21-22, the security presence has been the highest in a decade on a per student basis. Tier 1, 2, 3, and 4 infractions all decreased. Reduction officers per 100 students increased from 0.61 to 0.82 as previously stated. We have implemented Evolve, Zero Eyes, and updated our camera system to Milestone. When you look at the data, we're headed in the right direction. Are we done? No. Do we need improvements? Yes. But working with you all, working together as a team, working with DM Berg, and listening to our community, we know that we can maintain a flat line and do even better. So we are Oak Park, and I appreciate you taking the time to hear me through this presentation. Thank you.
Trustee Maxton?
I already got my nerves.
You good? You good?
I'm good.
Okay, all right. Any questions for Mr. Falk? Yeah, oh, sorry, Superintendent Dooley.
I just want to commend them. This is another task that he took on top of being a principal at Nova, director of security, and then I said, hey Derek, we need a presentation, and we need it as thorough as possible. So I appreciate their hard work. And one thing I just want to add, the reason we do the behind the scenes is the least intrusive to our students, right? So this works behind the scenes so the kids could be kids. It's hard to be a kid when you're going through a metal detector, you're getting pat down, and there's a German Shepherd going around sniffing and stuff. So our actions are, let's minimize the disruption, so allow teachers to teach, allow students to be students, and allow our security team to do their thing. And one thing they took on is they had to incorporate how I feel about kids into how they're interacting. And so now if you see our security team, they're family. They're not this outside entity that is just coming, they're socializing, they're coming to events, and that's a testament to the dedication here. And so I just want, I agree with Derek. Is there room? Absolutely. We could all improve. But I, for one, am appreciative of your hard work and dedication.
Thank you.
So I had to say that, sorry.
What happened to the baby? Oh, okay.
I had a quick question. The Evolve, is it at every entrance or just like the main entrance?
It's at the main entrances. So Oak Park High School has two. So it's at door 29 and door 1. Now, at Nova, it's right at the main entrance, which is door 2-lane at Oprah now, and it's at the main door. So soon as, and it's kind of crazy at Oprah, because as soon as you walk through, as soon as you open the door, you gotta walk through it. But that was the best place that we could put it. And to be honest with you, and Mr. Wilson is here, he was tired. He was whining. We all had to go in and whine and check all the kids, but when he got involved, he didn't know it was one of the best things ever, because what you find is that a lot of students actually start to change their behavior, because guess what? They don't want to stop. They don't want to be checked. So it's a deterrent in its own self. They're trying to see, can I get through this thing without going on? So, you know, so that's, and we still wind at the high school as well. So, you know, it's not that we, you know, if you go off at the high school and we have to check your bag, you will get winded as well.
In elementaries, they only have 0I. Elementaries do not have Evolve.
Correct.
Trustee Corcoran.
I have a few questions. The first one is, you talked about the active shooting, and you spoke in regards to the training that you all implement throughout, you know, different people to join them to have the one training. But the question that I have is, how is it effective if you are having active shooting without the students?
Well, you have we still have active shooter drills. We have lockdown drills within the buildings. Okay, so that's one thing, but we still have to train our officers as well, so that they will be a part of knowing what they're supposed to do. Their roles may be a little different, if I'm answering your question correct.
Oh, yeah, I just didn't hear you say that, you know, during the active shooting that you specified, you know, who was there, but I just didn't hear him say that it was students that went through the active shooting training.
Well, we have drills throughout the school day, so, through the school year. So
when you say drills, were you talking about fire drills or active shooting drills?
you can call it, we call it lockdown drill.
Okay.
Okay, so with
And
those
would that
lockdown
consist-
drills, if an active shooter comes in the building, then the building goes in lockdown. Students, they're to follow a specific process along with their teacher. Now,
And
that's that. Now, you have security, right? Now, security has a different role in an active shooter. And that's what Officer Dean and Officer Arbanowski was going over with the staff over the break. And I'm quite sure Dean Bird goes over that with them as well.
How often is this done?
Well, active shooter is done at least once a year. Okay, what we're trying to do now is we're going to increase that number, because we have a little bit of a problem of retention with officers. And so sometimes we have to do it over and over again to make sure that these officers know it. But repetition is good, because a lot of officers really got it.
All right, and
Sorry, can I the PA system that you guys approved, I don't know if you want to just talk about that, how we have a certain code. I know, because President Alvin recommended our PA system. Can you talk a little bit about what President Alvin recommended?
No, don't put that on me.
The clock, the countdown clocks, and the PA system?
So in our schools, we have a new PA system. Can speak for Nova and Oak Park High School, and it's at Opa as well. The thing is that this PA system, it has clocks up there, so the students can see the countdown to go to class. That's number one. Number two, it's easy access. All you have to do is push a button, and you can actually put the building in lockdown automatically. Okay, we did a whole big training with the company, and it works really well. So it's just a matter of staff getting used to this system, because we were used to the older system. But it just takes time. So it's a great system.
Trustee Corbin.
the data, how is the data, or is there any data stored on the Evolve? So the events that you have that happen, are they reported in a data format, or how do you all keep track of this?
As far as how many students go off,
As far as how many times that red light go off?
There is a data log in there, and they're getting better with it, because I actually asked that same question. It doesn't stay for a long period of time. So that is something that I'll look into it again.
So based on, if it does go off in red, as you showed in your PowerPoint, I guess what I'm looking for is that if that goes off, do we have a person writing it down in a book? Or, you know, what, if it doesn't store long, you know, for a period of time, do we have data written down, like, you know, or can we?
So we could do that, okay? But this is what happens. So let's just say you walk through and your watch goes off, or your cell phone, or something. We actually just check and make sure that that's what that is, and we let the student go. We do book bag checks. If your book bag goes off, we go through the book bag. A lot of times we find vapes and things like that. But this is where your school system actually comes in with your behavior. So now that student has to go to the behavior interventionist or the assistant principal, and it has to be written up. So that's where your writing will come up, especially if it was something like that. We have had students to come in with vapes, knives, and it has caught those students, and those students were officially reprimanded.
So how often is that is it, because calibration, is it a calibration? How do we know that it's reading properly? You know, let's say for instance that they just have like you stated, a phone that goes off. Like, are we reporting this to the Evolve company, saying, hey, you know, we looking back, you know, over the years, you know, we seen this slope. What is really going on? Can we, you know, like, are we reporting it to them, saying, you know, it's picking up cell phones more than it is picking up a gun? I'm just speculating, but, you know, is it that we do keep that kind of, you know,
we do not track, it does not track whether it is a cell phone or, this was funny.
You only know that when you check the
We
bag.
just only know that when it checks the bag, when we check the bag or check the student. Now, what'll happen a lot of times, when the system goes off, okay, the Evolve, once it goes off, it's gonna make a log that it actually caught something, okay? So, when Mr. Allen goes through and it comes off on his pants here, it's gonna put a square there. Now, it's not gonna say that it put a square there. It's just, and it doesn't know what it is. It could be a crock pot or whatever. It's just gonna be, I got that from them, because they said crock pot when I was
And you know this Bob.
But some students, yeah, it is. You got a lot of that. So the thing is that that's how the system works. It's not where it's going to just tell you that's what that is. No, we have to check to see what that is. Like a lot of times kids, we got these new vapes, so they're trying to get slick with the vapes. So what we're trying to do is make sure sometimes they go off, sometimes they don't. All right? Because a lot of them are plastic. So that's where we kind of sometimes run into a little bit.
Superintendent leading the witness, Abdullah Had. Go
Yes.
ahead.
Because we do calibrate and we have the ability to tune it. So, no, I think you would address this. I'm not trying to lead the witness.
I'm just messing with
But-
you. Like, smile sometimes.
So,
Y'all so serious.
do you want to talk about how it tunes? Because we have the ability to calibrate, and I think we have it tuned to the highest.
Yes.
So if it detects too many things, we can tune it for a crock pot or a rice cooker or,
Yes, yes.
all right.
So it has levels. Just so you know, for the most part, all of them are at the highest level. You can decrease the level of detection, or you can raise the level of detection up. So, and then Mr. Wilson just whispered in my ear, he does track. So he had 224 times that his Evolve went off today.
Okay, I just have a few more questions.
Yes.
The other one was in regards to the deep slope that we saw in your presentation. With that deep slope, is that, I know you saying, you know, as far as like the students or what have you, but does that also include the staffing that we experienced?
Yes, you can't take anything away from the staff. We had Officer, I'm sorry, forgive me, Trustee Tyler. Trustee Tyler at that time was the lead, and she did a fantastic job making that slope go down. She was a key member of that throughout the district. So we can't take anything away from anyone. It was a total team effort. It wasn't just one person. It was Officer McDonald. It was, back at that time, Officer McDonald, Gentry, Tyner, Wilson, you know. Yeah, that's McDonald.
You got more?
So,
It's
yeah, two more.
all of them.
So the other one is about the training. Is the training that you all train the staff, when you say that, you know, you're trying to fill these spots, is that training modified in a way to kind of speed up the process to get them placed?
I don't think so. DeAmber has their own training before they come here, and then what we do is we add on. So, and because we have their director working with me in this matter, we continue training throughout, we try to make sure that we're training throughout the year. We're gonna get better with it, and do better things and give more training.
Last but not least, maybe you shouldn't stay away so long. Perhaps maybe it wouldn't be so thick. It wouldn't be so long, but please come back soon.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, really quickly, I know we have Trustee Tyler has questions. I also noticed that some of the years were missing. They were there for the per 100, but they weren't there for the individual counts. I know we were in COVID during that time, but there were still clearly some infractions that took place. Is there a reason why those dates are missing
Well-
on the per item?
Just for the COVID year.
But
All
it's,
of the
it's there for the per 100, the year is stood for the per 100, it's just not there for the, each incident.
Yeah, that was the error on my part.
Okay,
I was
gotcha.
supposed to remove that, and I do apologize for that. Because what it was, to be perfectly honest with you, we only had about 8 infractions for the COVID year, and that was something that was online, and it was in one school.
Got it. Okay, Trustee Tyler.
First of all, I want to say thank you to the superintendent for this. I've been asking for it, so thank you. I thank you for this presentation, well put together. But some of the data in here I just don't agree with, but it's okay. But my first question is, what are we doing for the retention of officers? Because since I've been here, we've been down, and today is the first day that you all said that we were fully staffed. And so I know when we're not fully staffed, we just had a situation about a month ago. The reason that you're here because we didn't have no staff in our lower E, upper E, where we gotta put tables and chairs up for the kids who want to use the restroom. And that's what we're paying security to be in those areas. So today we're fully staffed, that's what you're saying. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what are we doing to
Trustee
retain?
Tyler,
Yes.
Can I just augment something real quick? So that includes those areas?
Yes, we are making sure that there's coverage in lower E, specifically made sure it was an officer in lower E.
Right, but I'm saying, you're saying, as of today, we are fully staffed, all 20, I think it says 24?
Yes.
We're staffed all 24,
Yes.
okay. Because, all right, then my other question, what are we doing to retain? Because I see that we have a turnover. Every 6 months, we're getting a new leader. Every 6 months, we're getting a new leader. We have not had a stable leader in the last, I would say, 2.5 years. 2.5 years definitely have not had a stable leader in leadership in the DeAmber group for our security. We are turning over leadership, and when you turn over leadership, continue to turn it over, you cannot build relationship, and that's why we are continuing to have these upspurts that I'm seeing in behavior because, and not to cite from any of you all, but what I'm saying is, we have it continuously every 6 months for the last 2.5 years, and I've just been here sitting on the board since January getting voted in, and we done switched over twice. And I believe that's a problem. So what are we doing?
Well,
That's my first question.
I'm sorry?
That's my first question.
That's your first question.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think what we're doing now is we're working diligently with DeAmber, trying to make sure we get the right people to be here. A lot of times people come in, they think they want this job, and you know, and you very well aware of that. They say, yeah, I want a job, and when you gotta start walking and talking to kids and doing things like that, it's too much for them. So we had 4 officers, not even a month ago, that started and went to Wilson's building at Opa, and they all quit by Monday after we did the training and they went through. So it wasn't anything that we actually did, but no more than tell them what the job responsibilities were and to get them caught up to speed. So I think it's just about making sure that we get the right individuals. And one of the things that I believe that we're doing differently is that once you come through Mr. Allen and his team, you still have to go through our team in HR. So you have to be vetted by them as well. And then you have to also, I became more part of the process to make sure that they are individuals who would possibly stay. And we try to make sure that you're a good fit. It's just like a teacher. You want a good fit for your school. And so that, I kind of think, was kind of the problem. Sometimes we would just get a body. But we need somebody who doesn't mind working with children, who doesn't mind working overtime, who doesn't mind somebody telling them they have to walk, that they got to go outside when it's cold. So to answer your question, I think what it is just trying to make sure we get the right people. As far as the director, again, and you know, being the director, it's long hours. It's long hours, and a lot of people, they just don't want to do that. Trustee Tyler, and it's just about getting the right people. You know, the people that, when you were coming through, when we were both here, diehards. People just, it's hard to find those people.
Continue.
My next question.
Yes,
I see that you have a staggering schedule.
Yes.
So with the staggering schedule, you only have 3 or 4 officers in the morning. And I think that may hinder some of that teacher, not hinder, it hinders kids getting to class on time because no one's there to cover the hallways to get them in class. And then you got teachers taking away from their time to do security jobs, to get them in class. And I know we just put in place where the where the teachers are doing hall duty, but that's not they're supposed to educate.
Right.
So what are we doing, because staggering schedule don't seem like it's working?
Boosting the first shift. So just hire somebody, so the first shift went from that 4 to 8. So that's how we're able to get that person in the back hallway, make sure that we're taking a look at that door 10, that infamous door 10, where they push the door open, anybody walks through there. So specifically put an officer back there so that we can actually monitor the staff coming in, the students coming in the back. So we're still trying to increase the numbers for Oak Park High School. We definitely know, you and I both know that 4 is not enough in the morning, and we're definitely working on increasing that number, even a little bit beyond 8.
Trustee
Because-
Tyler,
Yes.
your next question.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
yes. My next question. On this training that you all just had a week ago, thank God that you are having some training now. And so I thank God that you partnered with the Oak Park Public Safety, so that brought a team together. So what are we doing with consistent training, not just because you all were asked to do a training because you all were coming before us. I'm talking about consistent training that's on the calendar where we can see development of security, because we need true development with gun shootings, possible things to be happening, because in order for us to get kids, people are not going to come where they're not safe. And so safety ought to be our #1 priority. Then I heard you say that overtime is cut out. It shouldn't cost for safety of kids. So what are we doing to maintain consistent growth in developing security, not just once every other month, or 6 months, or a year? Because it sounds like you only had 2.
So we have training during the summer,
Okay.
when there's no students. We also have a beginning of school training, like right before September. There's another training. We have a training over winter break when the school shut down for 2 weeks. We usually have a training during spring break or an intercession that you guys have. And then we'll have training again in the summer. So there is training throughout the entire year. It's not, it has been going on. It's not, I didn't even know that there was a request for the special training. we've had it. And in regards to overtime, we are still using overtime. There isn't, if you have a large event, there isn't enough staff at night to be able to just cover with that 1 or 2 people. There might be a large basketball game or a large football game where we need additional staff. There is still overtime used based on the event that is going on. It's just been reduced greatly because before, a ton of employees would work almost every day.
And you ain't had nothing going on either.
Well,
Well, there's nothing going on when you had officers present. When officers are present, that reduce crime, period. When officers are present. But I hear you saying that you are now at just a special event, you wanna say that you added on 2 or 3. But I'm saying, at the end of the day, I still hear you all talking about costs. Cost. It does not cost enough money for us to lose a kid. So if we lose a kid because of cost, then that's a problem. We're losing kids not coming to our district, that's a problem. And we need kids because I saw in the graphic here that a lot of our numbers were going down. But now we don't even have 1,000 kids in the high school, so it ought to go down.
All right, additional questions, trustee Tyler?
Good.
We good? Okay. Any questions?
That, the one that you were giving the awards to, the staff, I would love to see more awards. I think it was only 2 people, maybe 3.
There was 3.
It was 3. Yeah, I was just saying, you know, because this is a very beautiful district, and I'm sure they're doing a great job at what they're doing, and to give them more awards. I'm not sure what the protocol is to get that award, maybe come to work or something,
No.
but it would be nice to,
So
you know,
there's
give them
only,
more awards.
there's only 4 given out, I'm sorry, there's only 3 given out per month,
Okay.
company-wide. Actually, you guys, the employees here, 4 of them have received it, not 3. In a period of time, so Oak Park has received the most employee of the months out of the entire company.
That's a great morale, you know,
So that
to be.
has occurred. We just have a stipulation of how many we give out every month.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Trustee, go ahead, Superintendent.
I just want to say, I mean, everything is valid, so if we have ideas on how to increase retention, that's always, because we're always exploring ways to increase retention. So ideas are welcome. They're not, this is how it's done, and that's the way it's going to happen. So we welcome that. And there's an extra heightened, now with all these violence that's occurring in schools, you know, it's a lot. It's a lot, not even in Michigan, but it's just a lot. And it does take an entire village. So the staff, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, I would suggest then if we have ideas that we think that would help, send them to the
Yeah, send
superintendent.
me, and I'll pass them on.
Okay, trustee Madison.
I just wanted to say thank you, good job as far as, I know when I'm at the games after schools, in the middle school, after walking through the metal detector, it's an officer right there, it's, security just all over the building. So I do want to say that, I noticed that, and I probably am like one of the only people that's going to the elementary basketball games, and that's, you know, an after-school event that we need security for, and, you know, as well as the school. Huh?
I said, I went just the other day. I
Oh,
was there.
Right?
To elementary school, yes. At
It was at
Oprah.
the middle school.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
at Oprah.
Yep. So,
I was there.
my son was playing. So, yeah,
Shout out to Rocky.
just great, thank you.
Yes, I was there.
Okay.
I'm not missed.
So, great job. I always feel, you know, safe and secure, and
Okay. You got something?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen, for the presentation, much appreciated, well done. We'll come to item number 5A, action items, approve the Oak Park High School Marching Band's overnight field trip, trustee Clark.
Resolved that the Oak Park Board of Education approve an out-of-state overnight field trip for the Oak Park High School Marching Band from March 10th, 2025 to March 11th, 2025 to participate in the Battle of the Bands performance at Thornton Township High School in Chicago.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by trustee Clark, seconded by trustee Tyler. Any question on the motion? We've done this before. The band has performed nicely. He's always come back with a report of some kind, somebody getting a scholarship offer or something of that
And I
nature.
have that, he sent that to me.
You don't have to get into that
No,
tonight.
I'm gonna include it in
Good.
our update. Yeah.
We'll look for it later, but, trust that our students and any chaperones will be safe, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions from the members of the board? Hearing none, Ms. Greer, please call the roll.
Clark,
Yes.
Colburn,
Yes.
Elvin,
Yes.
Madison.
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Harriman Tanks.
She's not here.
Okay, Tyler.
Yes.
Motion passes, I'm sorry,
Question. Oh, did you say?
no. Motion passes. We're at item 6, which is adjournment. The next regular meeting of the board is scheduled for May 12, 2025, at 6 p.m. in the boardroom of the administration building. With that, without objection, we'll pass a motion to adjourn by unanimous consent. Is there an objection to doing so? Hearing none, we're hereby adjourned at 8:28. Thank you.
Members of the board, if you guys want to